Hey there, powerful soul. I want to have a conversation with you about the fortune and flip side of exuding, being more deeply embodied in your feminine radiance. And this is a conversation that was inspired by a chat I had with one of my fellow spiritual healer sisters. And we were discussing the journey of really being devoted and committed to self-actualization, of unleashing, unlocking intimacy, impact, potential, and the fortune and the flip side of that. Because like anything, there is all the blessings that we love to experience on the back end of our co-creations, but then sometimes there could be what some may consider burdens. And when you're on this path and you're on this journey, you may begin to recognize that people are experiencing you differently than what they once experienced you as. You're starting to show up in a way that may be foreign to them. You're showing up in a way that may even shine a light on their own traumas, their own experiences. You're going to see sweat dripping, by the way, because I was outside walking in this Florida good old weather after the hurricane, and so unapologetically sweating. You may experience people experiencing you in ways that are foreign to them. And there are two things that typically happen in those experiences. They either embrace you or they reject you. And being able to become neutral and make peace with both sides of those experiences is going to be critical on this journey that you are on. Now, the fortune of being more deeply embodied and exuding your feminine radiance is having the most extraordinary, beautiful relationships with your beloved, with those in your close network and circle, sisters, friendships, having community. It starts to feel as if you are creating a family outside of the blood family that you were born into when you came to this planet. You experience the most beautiful, synchronistic, impromptu, most random moments of being at the right place at the right time, what many call manifestations. All because you are living in alignment with your core, with your center, with your soul. You are walking with God side by side, being led, being directed, being guided, and you're listening, you're following the nudges, and you start experiencing opportunities, you start experiencing encounters, you start having interactions with people, and that leads to this and this and this, and before you know it, you are having these supernatural experiences that make absolutely no logical sense, but make absolute faith sense, as I often say. You experience abundance beyond what you could have ever even thought was possible for yourself. I'm sitting in one of those abundances now. You know, I live in a brand new build home that my husband and I closed on over a year ago, and every day I'm still blown away. Because if someone would have told me 5 years ago this would be my reality, I would have been, oh, maybe after we retire, maybe after this amount in my bank account shows up, maybe that, all the logical things that we come up with why we have to wait to pause and delay our desires. And so human nature is to deny our desires. And sometimes I believe that when you are living in true alignment with yourself, with your authentic essence, you're exuding your feminine radiance, some of the fortune is God says, you know what? I think you're ready for this blessing. Boop, here you go. Because God would not put a desire in our heart that was not meant for us to have. And when you are living in this beautiful reality where you have the most beautiful relationships, the most extraordinary relationships, where you are feeling well loved and well supported and seen by those closest to you, and you are experiencing the most incredible synchronistic moments of manifestations and opportunities and encounters and interactions that lead to one thing and the next thing and the next thing, and you're starting to experience things unfold in a way that you couldn't even have predicted or planned yourself. and you're experiencing more abundance than you ever thought was possible, the flip side of that is that can trigger people. People tend to get triggered when they either see you have something that they want and they don't have, and they really, really want it, or you're shining a light just by simply being who you are, and your light is shining on the areas where they're not being authentic, where they're not being pure, where they're not embodied. And when people are not committed to a journey of self-mastery, where they're not devoted to their self-mastery, self-actualization journey, they tend to project. They can't hold it. They can't hold the feelings of, I feel some type of way. I feel irritated. I feel jealous. Why does she have it, not me? They project that energy toward you. Sometimes they continue to show up in your life, but they do little snarky, little sneak digs and snide things, snarky things, trying to poke holes at your embodiment. Sometimes they will do their work, like what we do, right? We do our work. And we go within and we say, okay, what is this showing about me? What is this revealing about what's going on with me? Now, one of the gifts of being so deeply embodied in your feminine radiance is what I call CAP. And I'll break down what that acronym means. The C is our consciousness. We have a level of consciousness that becomes so magnified where it seems as if nothing misses us. We start to be so aware of ourselves in the moment, aware of our thoughts, aware of our emotions, aware of our beliefs, aware of our energy, aware of our motives and our intentions and why we're going to do what we're going to do. And then we can bring our awareness, the A, into that consciousness to choose who we're going to be in these moments so that we don't be the one on the flip side projecting because of a trigger, or projecting because feeling some type of way, or projecting because of whatever reason. We can use our awareness to consciously choose so that we are not compromising our embodiment. We're not compromising our self-actualization path. And then the P is presence, the presence that we are able to experience. I believe the presence is most important in our relationships, whether if it's personal with your beloved or even professional. If you are a service-based provider and you work with clientele, presence is what creates customer experience. Presence is what causes your customers to feel valued, to feel seen, to feel heard. Presence is what creates repeat customers. If you don't have presence, then your clientele is not going to feel seen. They're not going to feel heard. They're not going to feel valued by you. When we have presence in our relationships with our beloved or the people in our lives, they feel seen by us. They feel heard by us. They feel like they matter. They're valued. But we live in a world right now. I don't have my other phone by me, or I would use it as an example, but we live in a world right now where everyone is so distracted by the news and by the media and by the election and by this and that, and they're constantly checking their phone and checking this and checking that and checking social media, and they're not present. They're not present in their interactions. They're not present in their discussions. They're not present in their conversations with their beloved. And that person on the other end will start to feel like they're not valued, like they don't matter, like they're not seen. And that is when we start to see breakdown happen in relationships. And so when you are really embodied in your feminine radiance, you have this quality of being embodied in the CAP, consciousness, awareness, and presence, which is such a beautiful gift. It's part of the fortune, because that is how we start to co-create everything we've ever desired. When you are embodied in that way of being, when you can bring consciousness and awareness and presence to your moments, to your interactions, to your encounters, to what you're doing. That is how you start to amplify your co-creations in experiencing what I call, not what I call, what the scripture calls heaven on earth in this lifetime. The issue is that many are not operating in conscious awareness or presence. And that's why the flip side happens. That's why these projections happen. That's why they feel triggered when a woman walks into a room, and it's not just physical beauty that she's radiating, but it's her internal essence that she's radiating. It's her light that she's radiating. It's her years of doing trauma work that she's radiating. It's her embodiment that she's radiating. It's her open heart that she's radiating. It's her ability to be courageous that she's radiating. It's her bravery, her courage, her boldness that she's radiating. And that is attractive. That is magnetic. That's what attracts the partner. That's what attracts the opportunities. That's what attracts the collaborations. That's what attracts the connections. But when someone has deactivated themselves from their own feminine essence and their radiance because they have gotten caught up in doing to get, and I'm going to talk about the 4 levels of awareness next week during the Supernatural Woman virtual workshop. If you want to join me on day 2, I'm going to talk about the 4 levels of awareness. One of the levels of awareness is the modern day high achiever. I believe most of high achieving women are stuck and trapped at this level of awareness. And this is why they're not experiencing the relationships that they want. This is why they're not experiencing abundance with more ease. This is why they're not experiencing what they desire without feeling like they have to force and push and work hard and strive and toil for it, because they've gotten stuck and trapped in that high achiever mindset. And so we're going to talk about that. When you get caught in this doing to get, which is a very Western paradigm approach, you can only see yourself and the reality that you're experiencing from only a certain height and depth. It's almost like you're putting your awareness in a box. And so then when you see someone else living this extraordinary life, and they're magnetic and they're radiant and they're well loved and they're in love and they're well taken care of and they take care of themselves and they're radiant and they're magnetic and they're experiencing abundance and they're experiencing the most beautiful life. Notice if you feel triggered inside by that, and why. Because I'll tell you what I've experienced in my journey is that I've experienced the fortune and the flip side. And the flip side, I'll tell you, is probably some of the most heartbreaking part of this journey for me. The more I embody my feminine radiance, the more I exude my light, the more I amplify my embodiment, the more magnetic I become. Some of the most heartbreaking parts of this journey is the flip side of the projections I've experienced, of people being so irritated by who I've become that they either don't want me around because they feel like I'm a threat, and they don't want people in their community and their network and their audience to know about me because they're afraid they're going to choose me over them. They can't be around me because they feel convicted by the fact that they stopped being devoted to their journey. And I'm a mirror to the fact that I've remained devoted to my journey and what got to happen for me because of that. And so it's part of what comes with it. But I'll tell you how I've been able to navigate this. Even though it stings, even though I feel the disappointment, even though I feel in my heart, I wish it could be different. I wish I could have a different experience with this person. I wish this person could borrow my belief, borrow my bravery, borrow my boldness. I wish this person could perceive themselves through my eyes and see themselves how I see them. I wish this person could put down the need to compete and compare. Put down that old Western paradigm. I wish they could do that. I honor what I feel. I don't suppress it. I don't numb it. I don't bypass it. I don't pretend like I'm not feeling it. I don't act like I don't care. And right now we live in a world where people will say things like, why do you care? You should just not care. Part of our feminine radiance is our open heart. It's our ability to feel deeply. It's our ability to connect with others deeply. It's our ability to be all of who we are, even if that includes rejection. And so if I shut down my ability to care, I will shut down my feminine radiance. And I'm unavailable for that. And so what I choose to do instead is I allow myself to feel the hurt. I allow it to break my heart. I allow it to hurt me. I allow it to disappoint me. I allow it to touch parts of myself that my human would prefer not to feel. But my soul knows that it's all a part of the process. And I honor what I feel. And I practice compassion, self-compassion. And I put down the need to judge or shame myself for having whatever experience I'm having. And I just honor it. And I presence it. And I'm with it. And I feel it. And I use my somatic alchemy tools to move it through my body so it doesn't get stuck and trapped in me. Because when emotions and trauma get stuck and trapped in the body, that is when dis-ease happens in the body. That is when your feminine radiance gets turned off and deactivated. That is when your magnetism gets turned off. That is when you start to experience disconnect in your relationships. That is when you start to experience stress. I'm unavailable for any of that. And so I allow myself to feel the flip side. I allow myself to be with it. I allow myself to honor what I'm feeling, even though it sucks. Even though it doesn't feel good. Even though it hurts. Even though I feel like my heart is wrenching with pain and disappointment, I allow myself to feel it. Because I know what's on the other side of that. More light, more radiance, more power. I find many modern day high achieving women will not allow themselves to actually feel it. And that's why you're not experiencing the fortune of your feminine radiance, because you refuse to honor the flip side. You only want the fortune. You only want what comes with the feminine radiance. The man who loves you well and takes care of you and provides for you and protects you. You want the abundance, the effortless abundance. You want the connections that feel like soul family. You want the life that feels like a dream. You want to feel like you're experiencing everything you've ever desired and more. You want to feel all of the experiences that you've been imagining and dreaming about, but you don't want to feel the flip side. And that's why you're not experiencing the fortune yet. Because we cannot dare to ask God to give us everything we've ever desired if we're unwilling to experience everything that comes with that. And a part of being a feminine, radiant woman is that not everybody is doing their work. Not everyone is committed to this work. Not everyone is devoted. Not everyone is practicing their self-mastery day in and day out. Some only do this because they think it's going to make them more money. They're trying to reach these different milestones in their business. And so let me sign up for this personal development program so I can make more money. Some are only doing this because let me sign up for this so I can get the man. Some are only doing this because let me sign up so I can get my husband to do what I want him to do. Some are only doing this. Let me do this so I can manifest what I want. Doing to get. But then there's other women like myself, and I hope like you too, who are saying, you know what? I know that's a byproduct of my embodiment. I know that's a byproduct of me being all of who I am. I know that's a byproduct of me being deeply anchored in the core of my being. And so I'm not just doing this to get, I'm doing this to be who I am. Because that is what we came here for. We came here to be all of who we are. We came here to release and let go of all the programming and all the conditioning and all the traumas and dramas that conditioned us out of our authentic essence, that told us who we should be, that told us how we should be. And we're here to take all that off and to be who we really are and to experience life how we came here to experience it, which means the way I experience my reality may be different than the way you desire to experience your reality. And it doesn't make either right or wrong. It just is. It means that the way I experience my relationship with my husband may be different than the way you experience your relationship with your beloved. And it doesn't make it right or wrong. It just is. The issue right now is that this era of technology, which is a beautiful era that we're in, because I get to connect with you from anywhere that you're at in the world. And if you want to share with me who you are and where you're from and where you're at, I love to see that. I love to see where everyone is in on this planet, because that excites me to know there's people all over the world tuning in. But the digital era has had the fortune of giving us access to each other all over the world, where we can connect with each other all over the planet. It doesn't matter what continent you're in, what country you're in, what county you're in, we can connect through this digital era. The flip side is people have gotten so caught up in competition and comparison that they are poisoning themselves, comparing their relationship to everyone else's, comparing their life to everyone else's, comparing their businesses to everyone else's, comparing their finances to everyone else's, comparing themselves and their body and their beauty and everything else about them to everyone else. And that creates a lot of stress. That creates a lot of frustration. That creates a lot of overwhelm. That creates a lot of jealousy, and that will completely deactivate your feminine radiance. And so the opportunity we're being invited into, for those who feel led to be on a path where you're experiencing everything you've ever desired as a woman, lover, and leader, is to expand your capacity and your ability to hold all of it, the fortune and the flip side. To stop telling yourself that you only want it as long as it's good. You only want it as long as it feels good. You only want it as long as it is what you want it to be. When I committed myself to this path nearly 2 decades ago, I got pregnant with my son at 19. And after I gave birth to him at 20, I started asking myself a lot of questions. Because my mom got pregnant with me at the exact same age, and my mom got pregnant with me at a very similar time period in her journey. She was also in college, and I was in college, and I started noticing patterns in my lineage, and I started noticing that there was a generational pattern that was starting to happen, and I started asking myself questions. And I noticed that my son's father was reminding me of my father, and I was starting to ask myself questions. And I was connecting with my desires and my vision. But I was also starting to wonder, not just how do I get there, but I was wondering, who do I need to be? 2 decades of this work, and I'll tell you something that has never changed. You are going to experience a fortune and a flip side of your feminine radiance, of manifesting what you desire, of being more deeply embodied in your authentic essence, of experiencing things that other people want and you have it. You're going to experience it. And it's going to be in your ability to hold both at the same time without dropping either. That's going to determine if you are even ready for what you've been desiring next. Sometimes God has not given you what you desired next because you're not handling your now. You're dropping the ball somewhere. Maybe you're saying, I can hold the fortune, but the flip side, not so much. And so you drop the ball. You can't hold the triggers. You can't hold the projections. You can't hold the emotions, the disappointment, the doubt, the insecurity, the jealousy. You can't hold it, so you drop the ball. But you keep telling God that you want what's next. And God's telling you, but what about now? How are you handling now? How are you holding yourself now? That is what self-mastery is. Self-mastery is us being more masterful over ourselves, our mind, our emotions, our energy, our spirit, where we can stop allowing what's happening in the physical reality that I often like to say, the version of myself yesterday created today. But we get so attached to what's happening today that we allow those emotions and those energies and those thoughts to take us out of our presence and of our awareness and of our consciousness. And we need that to be in the active role of co-creator, which is our original state. The scripture says that we were created in the image of the Creator, which means that we are a co-creator. But when you have disconnected from your presence, from your awareness, from your consciousness, when you are not connected to your feminine radiance, you have pulled the plug from the socket of your co-creative power. And you pull the plug from the socket from your co-creative power when you can't hold what comes with the fortune, the flip side. For a long time, I did not want to show up in the world and show my gifts and show my talents and show my beauty and show my radiance and show my embodiment and show all of who I am because of the flip side. I was trying to avoid it because it didn't feel good. I didn't like the triggers. I didn't like the projections. I'm 5'1" for those who are into human design. I didn't like any of that ish, okay? I wanted the fortune. I wanted the man. I wanted the marriage. I wanted all the abundance, and I wanted the good life, and I wanted to feel good about myself, but I didn't want the flip side. And so you know what happened? I only would experience yay so much of my prayers. There's a scripture that says, to whom much is given, much is required. I believe what that sacred text is saying, that when God is giving us something, your desire, your vision, your prayer, what's required of you is the responsibility that comes with that. The responsibility that comes with holding the embodiment of your feminine radiance. The responsibility that comes with having a beautiful, like a relationship where you're feeling so well loved and nourished and taken care of and supported and provided for and protected for. The responsibility that comes with having a mission that is of service to humanity. The responsibility that comes with having an environment that is supposed to be tended to and taken care of. The responsibility that comes with living a life where maybe you have time freedom. There's a responsibility. But so many people only want the fortune and they don't want the responsibility. And I believe the flip side is the responsibility. Can I be responsible for myself when I'm being rejected by my peers? And I hurt. And I feel disappointed. And I feel a core wound in me being activated from the time I was a little girl. And I remember the first time I felt rejected by my peers. And I remember the heartbreak that I felt. Can I be with that? Can I be with the projection without internalizing it and trying to be responsible for someone else's part? Can I be with the trigger that this experience I'm having with this other person is reminding me of some trauma? Can I be with that? This is the part that people don't want to touch. And so they distract themselves. They distract themselves on the internet. They distract themselves on social media. They distract themselves with food. They distract themselves with Netflix. They distract themselves with all these numbing and addictions. And if this feels very convicting and confronting for you, I'm glad. Because a part of my calling is to confront the conditioning out of you. And sometimes we got to just call a thing and get it up out of there. Because that conditioning is creating self-sabotage. That conditioning is creating a wedge between you and your beloved. That conditioning is holding you back from the intimacy and impact potential that's available for you and waiting for you. And so we have to confront it so it comes out. When you are living in alignment with the truth of who you are, when you are so deeply embodied in your authentic essence that your feminine radiance just has this aura of light around you, you will experience fortune and a flip side. But who are you going to be in both of those scenarios? That is totally up to you. That is totally up to you. That is the real work. Because when we can show God that we can be responsible with our feelings and our triggers and our thoughts and our habits and our beliefs, we can be responsible for ourselves in the midst of experiences that poke us, that prod us, that push us. We're also signaling a message out into the atmosphere that I'm handling my now. I'm ready for my next. I'm ready to receive it because I can handle whatever it's going to come with. And I'm not afraid of it, and I'm not going to run from it, and I'm not going to avoid it. Tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, I'm having a no-cost conversation called Trust. Unlock your potential in the new paradigm. For the last 3 years, I've been saying that we're entering a sacred shift. And it feels more palpable now more than ever that the sacred shift is here, that there is a new paradigm that is upon us, and it's going to require a level of trust that you may have never had to tap into before in your entire life. This conversation is no cost to you. All you have to do is reach out to me, and I'll send you a direct link to join us to get immediate access to it. It's at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time tomorrow. And if you're unable to attend live, you can access the replay. That's no issue. I'm also hosting this one is a cost. I'm hosting a 3-day live workshop experience next week called The Supernatural Woman, Absolute Faith Over Fear. Day 1, we're going to talk about what it means to be more solid in God and self-contained. Day 2, we're going to explore the concepts of these 4 different, I'm seeing these little lizards walk up. It's hilarious. We're going to explore the 4 different levels of awareness that are either going to catapult you in your co-creations or sabotage you. And day 3, I'm going to lead you through a somatic alchemy activating experience. And so part of my work is I bring different approaches that include a combination of somatic movement, breath work, visualization, things like that. And so I'm going to lead you through an experience so that you are connecting with the version of yourself that is experiencing what it is you're desiring, whether if it's better relationships, creating greater impact or more abundance than you thought was possible, then that will be a really powerful experience for you to have. So you can reach out to me for that. We're in early bird pricing, which will end tomorrow. So if you want to access that 3-day virtual workshop, you can reach out to me for the link to join us for that also. My final words to you is this. I really invite you to connect with what it means to really be deeply embodied in your feminine radiance on a new level, beyond physicality, beyond an aesthetic. You know, I came here all natural, okay? It's just me and my little pimple and my hair to knees washed, and I'm in sweaty workout clothes. I am not glammed up, but I feel my feminine radiance is here. I want you to connect with what is your feminine radiance beyond that, beyond the physicality. Right now, we live in a paradigm where a lot of people are connecting to femininity in a very superficial way. Hey there, Tuka, thank you. They're connecting to femininity based on aesthetic. They're connecting to femininity based on appearance. They're connecting to femininity based on cosmetics. They're connecting to femininity based off of these very supernatural, Western paradigm approaches. And that is not what the feminine is about. And so I came here in my feminine radiance without any of it to show you that you can be radiant without any of that. And that there is a depth that's required to be more embodied and to exude your feminine radiance. That doesn't require what the mass media, mainstream media is trying to condition you to believe. And so I invite you to sit with yourself today and connect with that part of yourself that goes beyond the mirror. Go within, connect to your heart. Connect to your spirit, connect to your essence, and ask yourself, what does that feel like for me? What does that feel like for me? And if you want to join me for tomorrow for the no cost conversation, trust, or next week for Supernatural Woman, reach out so you can get access to those. Thank you for being here. If you know someone who would find value in what I shared, if you would share this with them and tag them, I would really appreciate it. I really appreciate your presence and your time and your energy. Thank you for being here with me. And I look forward to having another conversation with you tomorrow, all about trust, unlocking your potential in this new paradigm. Thank you. Take care now.